Hello, and thank you for clicking on this video. So I wanted to ask you, do you need to control everything? Um, so first of all, this was actually the question I was going to do for yesterday's video until God basically told me to do the one on righteousness, and based off Celeste's question and the verse I got yesterday morning. So this was postponed a day, and I'm going to talk about it here in a little bit. But there was a purpose for that too. But I'll explain that in a little bit. But I want to ask you, do you need to control everything? Okay. Now, with that question, if you don't mind commenting below, I wonder how you're taking that. Like, do you take it as personally you feel like you need to control everything? Or like the way the world works, like you need to control everything. Like you need to control everything. I wonder how you took that question. You feel like you need to control everything, or like the reality is you need to control everything. But anyways, so to get to the question, now the thing about control, like I mentioned, there are many illusions in this world, and we feed illusions. I've mentioned that many times. And control is one of these illusions, okay? So first of all, I want to address, if you're someone who feels like you need to control everything, okay? First of all, why do you feel like you need to control everything? I'm guessing it's because you don't trust people. I'm guessing it's out of fear that if you don't control it, someone else will. Or are you just so controlling, meaning if it's not done your way to the T, then it's wrong type of thinking? And really, all that stuff really puts a lot of kind of almost stress on yourself, or if you're doing it from fear, but it puts burdens on yourself, and they are really illusions. Okay. First of all, and if you and also just I'm also addressing if you did take the question as like to live, or the way the reality is you need to control everything. So let me break this illusion, because you can't control anything but yourself. That's it. Okay. You can't control what other people think, the way they feel, what they do. Now I'm sure someone's out there saying, "Oh, someone puts a gun. I put a gun to someone's head. I can they get them to do whatever I want them to do." But see, the thing is you're not controlling them. You're forcing them, which is a little bit different than controlling people. You're not convincing someone to think a different way because you put a gun to their head. You're not changing what their desires and where they feel in their heart by trying to put a gun to their head. Okay. Because again, we are our thoughts, our feelings, our morals, our ethics. The stuff that we don't see is what we are. Okay, which is actually untouchable. People, people can do things to your physical body, but that they can't touch you. I mentioned before about the secret place that's only for you and God. Okay, no one can touch that. I've mentioned, like the Bible says, do not gather treasures here on earth that can get dusty, break down, rot, be stolen, all that stuff. People can affect that stuff, but gather treasures in heaven, which are eternal, that no one can steal or mess with. No, they won't degrade. You won't lose them. And this kind of goes to like control, really, is what I'm trying to talk about. So don't have, it's an illusion that you can control people, that you can actually control events. I know we all plan out, we all do that stuff, and you do you, of course. But ultimately, the Almighty has the last word. Let me just put it that way, okay? We like to have control, think we have control because it gives us a sense of safety, maybe, and it's really a false sense of security. Okay, that's why you need to trust in the Almighty, because it's really all in His hands. Okay, and history is, just, there's so many examples in history or in the Bible where people thought they had control of the situation or of things, and then God says, nope, I'm going to have to really show you who's in control, and it's best for you to break that illusion, because like I was saying, when you think you have to control everything, that's stressful. It's undue stress, it's undue worry, it's undue waste of time, and focus when you should be focusing on maybe something else. Okay, because you're feeding in an illusion when you think you can control everything, and so you put forth your effort to try to do that. It's a waste. It's now there's a lesson there, and sometimes if you're not, just like any lesson, God's going to help us, even though it may be painful at the time, it may be something we don't want to do, it may be very painful, the trials and tribulations, going through the fire. There's a purpose for it if God allows it, and there's an expected end that's good. So you do have to trust Him, because we don't know everything. You literally don't know what's going to happen the next minute. And going with that, again, you really have to trust in God. And I've mentioned before, when you involve God in your life, when you get to know Him and develop a relationship with Him and experience God, you will know. It's not just hopefully believing based off nothing. You will know from experiencing God that He's in control. And the thing is, it's actually freeing. Okay? It is freeing, because you know that it's in His control, it's in His hands, and nothing is going to happen if it doesn't have an expected end that's good. There may be pain. There's going to be pain. There's going to be trials and tribulations, because we, like I kind of mentioned yesterday, we're not righteous. We have things to work on, lessons to learn, and it's painful. Change is painful. Truth cuts like a sword, because it breaks illusions. And sometimes we prefer the illusion because it's more comfortable. Okay? But we're not here to really be comfortable. We're here to try to learn lessons and grow and get stronger, and try to learn how to be love in every moment. So one of those things is you can't control. That's an illusion. Okay? So you can't control. You really don't have control. I mean, you have free will to make choices, but God's the one in control about what happens. Okay? And today, like I mentioned at the beginning of the video, today, this video was delayed a day, and I explained that already, for today. And so I was already in the mind, I already knew I was going to do this question today about, do you need to control everything? And literally just like an hour ago, okay, There's a real life example of this, and I'm sure there's many of this in all your lives, all of our lives. But my boss, he had a doctor's appointment yesterday. He he's fought cancer in the past. He, there's some heart issues and stuff like that, but he cancer, was in remission or whatever, and he had a like a scan to check things out yesterday, and it was supposed to be really close to that point where instead of doing this every 6 months or a year, whatever, you can start doing it every 5 years. Like, it's a big point. Well, they found cancer, and that, of course, completely he wasn't expecting it, of course. He was thinking more of the mindset he's going to be in the clear on this, and then got that news yesterday. And I'm sure there's tons of people. I'm sure if you haven't gone through this yourself or are going through this yourself, I'm sure you know people like this. Okay, so it touches all of us, but it's an example, and a reminder that we're not really in control. Okay, and again, it's not a bad thing when you need to realize this and put your trust in God. Now you may say, oh, well, finding out you have cancer, that's not really good, of God. Well, the thing is, there's a purpose for everything. We don't know the purpose. We don't know the expected end that's good. Okay. But I do know one thing. It's definitely changed his mindset. Like when he great guy, and he puts his heart and soul in everything he does, and including work. And maybe God's saying it's time to maybe focus on family or focus on something else. And he's not just a believer. He knows. He's a knower. Like I've talked about before. He's a knower. And so it's more about his family that he's worried about and upset about. And of course, for us, from our perspective, it's a loss for us. Okay. And so it's really more painful for us that stay here, because no matter what ends up happening, he knows where he's going. He's going to be enveloped in love, like literally enveloped in love, like the kingdom of love. Like, he will be okay. He knows where he's going, but it's more about his family and everything. So anyways, he had kind of the plan, the expectations, and obviously this just changed everything. And so again, us controlling, having control is an illusion. So don't feed that illusion. Don't waste that time. Don't put that fear and stress on you, thinking that if you don't control it, something bad's going to happen or whatever. Trust, and that's why you need to involve God, like I say in every video, because this is what it comes down to. You need to involve God. You need to have a personal relationship with Him. You need to get to know Him. You need to read His Word, and experience God. And the more you experience God, because He's with you through these trials and tribulations. He doesn't want you to go through pain. And that's why here, like, everything's temporary, including pain, including the trials and tribulations. It's all temporary. But the gifts that we can gain are eternal. Okay? We grow, we get stronger, we get more wise, because we know. It may be a bad example, but how do you know the greatness of a warm, sunny day if you haven't experienced the cold, dreary, rainy, stormy days? But at least those stormy days are temporary, and there's a purpose. And this lifetime is a blink of an eye. It's a blink of an eye when it compared to eternity and kingdom of love, like enveloped with God and our Lord. So anyways, there's a little kind of going off tangents here, but I definitely wanted to bring up, if you're feeling like you need to control everything, And by the way, just a side note, for other people, that's annoying. Because everyone has free will, everyone has their own perspectives. Let people be the way they want to be. You know, um, if someone crosses a T at a diagonal instead of just straight perpendicular, it's not that big of a deal. It's not the end of the world. So just let it go. Don't put that stress on yourself. Don't put that burden on yourself. And again, really, it's when you trust in God, then like there's no fear, there's no stress, there's no worry. Like you still will go through, of course, you'll go through trials and tribulations, of course, because we all have lessons to learn. Okay, but when you go through them, knowing God and involving God, you know there's nothing out of His control, and so you don't fear, you don't worry, you don't stress. Like if you have fear, worry, or stress, if you act based against what you want to do based off fear or whatever, would you like to live a life without that? The freeing life? The truth will make you free. The truth is God, involve God. So I know I'm kind of going off on that, but it's very, very important. But just let go, because you don't control. You don't have control over anything or anyone other than yourself. And focus on that. Focus trying to be love every moment and living in the moment, like I've explained. Because that's hard enough by itself. By itself. I know this world pulls you a dozen different directions every second. But focus, and they're all opportunities to try to be love every moment. So it doesn't matter what you're doing, really. That's what you need to focus on. Okay. And then you realize that you don't control anything but yourself. And so don't put that stress on it. So anyways, I've said that over and over, but I want to stress that because it's freeing. It is so freeing. With this walk with God, like I said before, you get the bullshit meter, and you see more when you involve the light, the God, you see more truth, and when you know truth, which is God, you see all the illusions. And when you realize they're illusions, you don't invest in them and let them control you. Let me put it that way. You don't fear, you don't stress, you don't worry. So anyways, yeah. If you like the video, well, first of all, please, of course, comment and below your thoughts, your experiences, questions, all that stuff down below. But if you like the video, thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe and ring-a-ding-a-ling that bell to get notifications for when I upload videos. And as always, stay strong and God bless.